In terms of this band, supergroup has never been part of the lexicon, so to speak. I mean, every member of this band has done time in a band or toured at some point or another, but I definitely don't consider it a quote unquote supergroup.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com, and I am joined by our old friend Travis Miguel today to talk about his band Fake Figures. You know Travis from Atreyu and other projects. How are you doing, Travis?
I'm doing well. Just kind of chilling, hanging out. So yeah, no complaints.
Awesome. I know you just got back from tour. We were talking offline for a minute. So glad to see you. I saw you last time we talked in person. Remember those before Zoom? And we were speaking, I believe, at the Spine Farm headquarters in New York City. I was still living in Brooklyn at the time. Now I'm in the West Coast. But yeah, so good to see you. And, just such a good time for you. So busy and productive. From Within is the new EP from Fake Figures. And let's start here. Supergroups. It's a name we journalists probably made that up, right? And it gets bandied about a lot. And most of the time they're not super. And I would consider this, to me, like a low-key metalcore, hardcore supergroup. Did that come into play for you at all? Do you not care about names and things like this, or you just here to make music?
In terms of this band, yeah, like supergroup has never been part of the lexicon, so to speak. Every member of this band has done time in a band or toured at some point or another, but I definitely don't consider it a quote unquote super group.
No doubt. Low key though, like you guys are all, very, come from a lineage and very credible and stuff like that. So, listen, nobody puts things, it'd be a good idea if we did this. None of that ever happens. It's always because of a mutual thing. So how did you guys, obviously you know each other from the scene or other bands, how did this group form and come together like Voltron?
It basically started out with myself and our bass player, Bob Bradley. He played in a band out of Orange County called Scars of Tomorrow. And when Atreyu was kind of getting started, we'd always end up, playing the same shows as them. And then fast forward a few years, we took them out on tour. Bob and I have always kind of had very, very similar tastes in music. I believe it was around 2010, 2011. Atreyu went on a bit of a sabbatical. So I figured, or we both figured, let's get together and, I don't know, make some music, start a band, do something. I don't know. Then it eventually turned into what Fake Figures is now.
Right on. Shout out to Bob, who is everywhere, and he's amazing, and he's got several projects right now going on that are just awesome. And let's talk about Steve for a second, because I think Steve is the surprise of the recent story of Fake Figures as a vocalist, right? We know him as a drummer mostly, but his vocals are amazing, and this new EP, he's just like leveled up tremendously.
Thank you. Yeah, he was originally the drummer for Fake Figures. We parted ways with our original singer Russ a couple of years ago, and it just seemed like the most logical step to have Steve move from behind the drum kit up to the front. I mean, he's got musical talent just oozing out of him. Obviously he can sing. He's a hell of a drummer. He's got a great sense of melody and harmony. His vocal range can go from downright frightening to it can lull you to sleep. So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer moving him up to the front.
Yeah, man, he's so great. You can pass that on for me. I'm sure he'll see this when it runs. And of course, just musically, I think people come to expect certain certain elements of any band or any project you're a part of. There's definitely that signature crunch. There's some great riffs on here. What do you get out of a side project or this band in particular that you don't get to express in Atreyu?
I think it's just a different thing. I've been playing in Atreyu almost longer than I haven't. So being able to explore new musical ideas, or I guess with this project, there's less pressure. I mean, we're not on a label. We don't even have management or booking or anything like that. It's all on us. So we can pretty much do whatever the hell we want. So yeah, it's me as well as the other guys being able to, as cheesy as it sounds, like spread our musical wings.
We're here for all the cheesy things, and it's not cheesy. It's actually not cheesy. It's actually healthy. And I was gonna say, you just got off tour, so like the main, a major label band is like a machine. There's a routine and a script to follow. Actually, it was funny. I saw, as we're recording this, I saw Megadeth and Biohazard last night, and weirdly enough, at the bar they had like the load-in times. Just as I know they were supposed to have like the stage times, they didn't print that out separately. They just had the tech the back sheet for backstage. I was like, this is a weird place for this to be, but okay, good to know that loadout is it loadout.
I've all my years of touring, I've never seen that.
Same. I think somebody was just like, put up the set times at the bar so people will know. It's just by the way, at this age, 2 bands is perfect. I'm all set with your 5 and 6 band shows, everybody. Please stop. But yeah, it was just fun. It just kind of reminds me that for you, like what you talked about, that it must be like freedom for you to just have no script, to not have what the next thing is, could be anything. And I'm sure that's like very like almost a relief in a way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a relief, and it's also exciting at the same time. Like I said, we can do whatever we want, however we want. There's nobody else to please other than ourselves. So whatever pleasure and joy we do get out of this, it's very gratifying because it's all on us. It's all on our shoulders. We don't have that big machine behind us, which has its pros and cons. Having management, having booking agent, having a label, like that can do a lot for your band, but there's also some hindrances too, because then your managers take a percentage of what you make, and same thing with booking. And there are times when you kind of do have to answer to a label. But yeah, as of right now, it's just the 5 of us doing our thing.
Right on. And speaking of the 5 of you doing your thing, imagine if I'm sure there'll be some shows coming up, and perhaps there have been, to promote this EP. The band's been around for a while, but Steve hasn't always been the vocalist. Are you doing the material from across the whole project, or just the more recent stuff with Steve on vocal?
Well, whenever I've written anything or showed the other guys something that I'm working on or whatever, they all chime in, and this part should be taken out, or we could add this to that. It's a collaborative effort for sure. But as far as the vocal, the frontman role, this was Steve's first time in this band playing that role, so he kind of had to find his footing. It took him a second, but once he did, he was sailing. He passed with flying colors.
So much. Again, I listened to this thing in my ears, just like when your eyes open, my ears opened. I was like, wow. Awesome. I really wasn't expecting that level. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't realize it was going to be that great. And pleasant surprises are always better than the opposite. Oh no, I can't listen to this ever again. But right. None of that.
And yeah, I got to give him credit too, because a lot of the stuff I write, whether it's a riff or whatever, it's not exactly a walk in the park to write vocals to, because it's a little weird, and it's kind of hard to find a center of tonality in some of the stuff I write. And he kind of did have some trouble with it at first, but then I just told him, dude, do whatever you want. Like, do whatever is pleasing to you, pleasing to your ear, what you want to say, how you want to sing it. And I think that might have kind of freed him up, or maybe put a little less pressure on him, or put him at ease a little bit, I think. And like I said, he killed it.
Absolutely. I think that's the second time you've said that exact phrase to me. I'm sure you mentioned it other places too. Where do you think that comes from? You said you're sort of out of the box writing style. Is that just from your influences? Is that what turns you on as a writer, to do things that are a little unconventional for the listener?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of things that on paper shouldn't work, but then when it's executed, it does work. Some of my favorite artists are a little obscure and weird. Like Radiohead is one of my favorite bands ever. And they're, especially, after the release of Kid A, it wasn't just verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. Like, it's some off the wall shit. And I don't know. I love weird stuff. But then again, I love the most straight up the middle pop tune too. But with the kind of stuff I write, I try to aim for the the less obvious route.
Duly noted. And a good song is a good song. Doesn't matter what genre it is. It's all good.
Right.
Obviously, as we talked today, we had another big Atreyu EP announcement. So I just didn't want to fail to mention it while we have the moment. Yet another in your new series of EPs. It's weird. There's a conventional wisdom that says the music business is going towards singles and Spotify and streaming, and nobody hears a whole album. I'm in a culture of music listeners that love a whole album or an EP, so I think these little bites of music from the band have been, very refreshing and a nice change of pace to get like a little story and a little story and a little story instead of a whole big thing at once.
Yeah, it's when we went into the studio to write and record all this music, initially we kind of had the idea of it would just be another Atreyu album, but we figured, well, okay, like you said, the industry and the trends are kind of leaning more toward like you said, little bites of music, whether it's a single or an EP or whatever it may be. So we figured, well, let's try our hand at that. And so far it seems to be working awesomely. And on top of that, you kind of get a little bit more life out of the record cycle, because we wrote 20 something songs, maybe more. Like we wrote so much to the point where John Feldman, our producer, had to tell us to stop, which has never happened to us before. Our first couple records, we only wrote just enough to make an album. There was no like B-sides or cover songs or anything like that. But having multiple releases over relatively shorter amount of time kind of extends your overall cycle of touring, because you release an EP, you can tour for a while after that, and then when that's all said and done, you can drop the other one and then go back out. So I guess it's kind of more like a work smarter, not harder. So, and we're definitely good at not working harder.
Well, you're entitled after 25 years as a band for that band. You could do whatever you want to me. But shout out to Feldy, also a legend and a great dude. I got to meet him one time. He was insanely great. Just for a last thing, what's on the plans, if there are any, for the rest of the year for Fake Figures?
I just got back from tour just this past Tuesday, and then went straight into Fake Figures rehearsals last night. We have a show down here in LA on the 26th at the Knitting Factory. We're just trying to see what comes our way, whether it's shows or different opportunities. When I first started writing for Fake Figure stuff, I initially wrote like 10 or 11 songs and we all recorded them, Dre's bass, drums, and guitar. And then Steve put down vocals for 5 songs, which ended up being this first EP, From Within. And then so hopefully sooner than later, we'll get him back into the studio to finish up the rest of those songs and then drop another EP at some point. Because I figured we may as well capitalize on it, being that, we have new music coming out and we do have a little bit of attention right now. So keeping a somewhat consistent schedule of new music and whatnot, new content, I think would definitely behoove us. Yeah, and then Atreyu, we've had pretty much the month of October off, and then we're heading out to Europe in November. So it's been busy. I really can't complain. Like, after 2+ years of not doing anything, we're all definitely grateful to be back at it again.
Grateful to be in catch-up mode, Travis Miguel. It's always a pleasure to see you, man. Thank you for hanging out with Ghost Cult. Congrats on this new EP and the new EP announced from Atreyu as well.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me.
See you soon. Thanks.